Hey guys, what's up? Serena here from Thrift, and guess what? Finally, part 10 of this Wingback Chair makeover. Remember, you can find parts 1 through 9 down below, but this $60 chair from the thrift store, you've been following me for the last couple of years as I went to upholstery class after upholstery class, putting new webbing, new springs. Literally, I tore this chair down from the top to the bottom, all the way to the studs, and then figured out, with the help of a really good instructor, how to put it back together. Well, this is how I left it 2 years ago, and I cannot believe this much time has passed. So today in part 10, we're going to cover the cushion and the legs and all the other little bits that needed to be done. And I think the reason why this took me so long to do is because you notice here that there's a huge gap once the cushion was put back on the chair. Because of all the reupholstering, the cushion just didn't fit. And this is why a lot of people don't finish projects, because you run into a problem, you lose interest, and you never finish. So I knew that my first project of this year, I wanted it to be finally the completion of this chair. So I took some scissors, just cut off about 1.5 inches of the foam so that the seat would push back a little bit further into the chair, and then just recovered it with the existing cover, put a few staples, and then it was time to do the pattern. Now, if you remember, we threw everything away off of the old chair, and this made it more difficult because I had to make this pattern from scratch. Usually in upholstery, you want to save that old fabric and use it as your pattern. But here I'm using chalk, doing an outline very loosely, and then adding just a little bit of extra. You want to put at least 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch extra for your seam allowance. And be sure, if you're using velvet, be sure you're going in the right direction with the nap of the fabric, because there is a direction there with velvet. So I'm cutting this out, and I'm realizing that I need a top, a bottom, sides, and I'm going to need some piping. Remember, in another video, we did piping. Now, this fabric I think might have been 60 inches wide. So in order to do the sides of this cushion, I just cut multiple pieces and then figured I can sew them up on my machine to get the full length that I was going to need. Now, to cut the strips of the bias, I just put a tape measure there, tried to do it at 45 degrees, and made a bunch of strips. Keep in mind, you want to make sure that they're wide enough. Initially, I thought that maybe 1.5 inches was enough, but I ended up making them probably about 2.5 inches. Again, always better to have more fabric than not enough. And so the next part was to go to the sewing machine and put this cotton piping in the middle of these pieces of bias. Now you'll see that I'm using a bias binding foot here. If you're doing upholstery and you've got a sewing machine, get yourself one of these feet. It's fantastic. It pretty much makes it very difficult to mess up. So for me, I love tools that help me get the job done without making stupid Serena errors. So the next step was to take the side pieces and sew those together, and then it was time to do the piping. Now here's a little trick from the upholstery teacher, and I've been using it ever since. So you fold your fabric, find the center, just take your scissors and do a little notch there. When you open it up, you have this really great V that tells you this is the center. In upholstery, one thing that I'm learning is that the center is everything. You want everything to line up. You want it to be straight, as centered as possible. And so always mark your fabrics in the center if you can. And I wanted to show you something here. Do you see how I'm taking the piping, I'm going around the edges, but it doesn't look like it's fitting very well? Well, the reason why is because trying to take fabric along edges and curves, it doesn't work well. So you have to do these things here called relief cuts. And you have to be careful because you don't want to cut so far that you actually cut into the piping. Don't do that. So just a little snip, a little relief cut relieves the tension in that fabric and allows you to go very easily around the corners. And then you can pin, and once everything's pinned up, it's time to sew it together. And this is where you have to be very careful because it's easy to not sew this very close to that piping. You'll see that I've got the side piece attached to the seat and putting relief cuts where necessary and going as close as possible to that piping. And I'm going all the way around. I was actually pretty impressed that it turned out. Now, the thing is, you could tell that it was a little big, and in the back, you can't see it there, but in the back right-hand side, I was a little confused on how I was going to join that piping together. So that was kind of a problem for me. But again, I'm kind of new to upholstering cushions with piping, so it's all a learning experience. So the next thing was to do the same exact process for the other side of the cushion. And on this piece, when I got to the piping joining together, I simply kind of crisscrossed them together, tried to make it as neat as possible, and then just sewed over them. So if I should have done it a different way, definitely leave a comment down below, leave your upholstery tips, because I would love to hear your suggestions. And when that was done, it was time to figure out how we were going to finish off the back of the cushion. I figured I was going to do a zipper, but I was not sure how to do a lapped zipper. It had been so long since I'd done one. So I found a YouTube video. The instructions were pretty good and took me some time, but I did a lapped zipper for the back. And people say, I love when you make mistakes and actually show what can go wrong. Well, here's what actually went wrong several times with the zipper. The stitches didn't even catch on the zipper. So lesson learned, always make sure that you're sewing what you mean to sew, because if not, you're going to have to do it again, like I did 2 or 3 times. But hey, this is where the learning happens, right? So with the top, the bottom, the sides, and the back all constructed, it was time to attach everything together. So the only thing I really needed to do is to attach the bottom. You'll see that I've got notches there in the fabric to make sure that everything lines up as best as possible. And if you're sewing a cushion or anything that has a zipper, make sure that zipper is open. This is how you're going to reach inside and pull it right side out when you're done. I have done this many of times where I've left the zipper closed and then you have to redo your stitching so that you can turn it right side out. So just a little tip. So I used a zipper foot here to attach the pieces together. You can see that I'm really close to the piping there, making sure that I am getting as close to the piping, but not actually sewing on the piping. And I have to admit, this is a pretty good turnout for being the first time that I've ever made a cushion with piping. I've never done this before. I did run into a couple other problems, like in the back. You'll see that I've got a little bit of extra fabric here, and it's in the back. No one's going to see it, so I left it. But I think it has to do with my sewing machine and the uneven feed going through the machine, which I'll deal with later. Getting the cushion in was tough, so I had to shove that baby in there. And because I had some spots that were a little baggy, I tried to put some additional stuffing in there just to kind of plump it up a little bit. And really, I think it's just due to the fact that my cushion was a little big. There are some wonky spots, but honestly, for this being a first attempt at this kind of cushion with no pattern, I was kind of happy with it. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it was good for me. Okay, so the next thing I needed to do, which I forgot to do, was to make double piping, and didn't know how to do this. I don't have a double piping foot, but found a YouTube video, of course, and I'll leave a link down below so you can follow that tutorial for someone that I found online. But this is great for when you need to cover up raw edges, and you'll see this in just a moment. And I do this all the time with my chairs. I forget to refinish the legs before the fabric goes on. So with this chair, I actually had started stripping and sanding the chair probably 2 years ago, but I never finished it. So that's why when you see me sanding right here, that was this week. I had to cover up the good fabric so as not to get it all dirty and sandy and all that stuff. So please, just make better decisions than I do. And let me introduce you to my little friend. This sander, I just bought this for myself over Christmas. Amazing. You see there's a lot of dust, but I forgot to attach the dust extractor. When you plug this into the sander, guys, like, look at this. There's virtually no dust. Look at that. You don't see any dust. I love this thing. You'll be seeing this in more videos. I am just in love with it. So the back two feet were much easier to sand down. Those were just flat. The other curved ones, a nightmare. And I'm using a water-based stain. This is actually no VOCs, water-based. The color, I like the color, but it didn't go very well on the wood in just one coat. So I ended up doing, I think, probably about 3 coats. And after that, it looked good. It didn't look blotchy. But this is a no VOC water-based stain. So if you're someone that likes to do projects indoors, or you've got kids or pets, or even for your own health, definitely use these. I'm going to put a link down below on where you can get these. And I think the colors are amazing. And, you know, when you're using products, you don't want to hurt your health. So of course, go go green. Okay, so once I was done with the legs, I did put a couple coats of, this is also the same brand, environmentally friendly top coat, which the finish of it is okay. I don't prefer it, but it is a good alternative. Again, if you're working inside and you don't want harsh chemicals, this is good. Okay, so the last thing to do, well, the last couple of things is to add, and I forgot to add the cardboard. I should have added a strip of cardboard here underneath of the piping, but I completely forgot. So added that along the edge, trim those up, and then this is where the double piping is attached. And you have to be very careful with this hot glue because it can not just burn your fingers, but it can also get on your fabric. If you apply too much, it'll seep out. So just be very careful. Use your stapler and attach it underneath of the chair. But this will cover those raw edges where the fabric meets the legs. And the last step was just to apply a duster. Now this is just cotton fabric. Generally, it's a different kind of fabric, but this is the only thing that I had on hand, and I think it works. This covers up the bottom so that you don't have dust settling in the inside of your chair. So what started as a $60 chair from the thrift store that smelled horrendous but had really pretty fabric turned into this beautiful, gorgeous velvet chair that took just 3 years to do. I laugh when I think about how long it's taken, but honestly, guys, it really was not about trying to create this amazing project. I mean, it was, but it was also about learning reupholstering old thrift store things, because I think there's a lot of furniture out here that has great bones that it just needs nice, pretty fabric. And I learned a lot from this entire process. I hope that you did too. You can go down below 1 through 10 to watch any video again. And you can also go to the blog post to learn more upholstery tips. But if you enjoyed this project, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out the other upholstery projects that I've done if you love making over ugly things from the thrift store. And remember, I'm Serena from Thrift Diving. This is what we do here. We do furniture makeovers, home improvement, DIY, and I'm so thankful that you stayed with me through all 10 parts of this video. Thank you for being patient, and I will see you next video.